Good morning, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy and Passionate World Talk Radio. Jeanne White is the producer and writes the blogs, which I highly suggest you read because there's going to be very good information. You're going to want to stay tuned, folks. I have a very interesting guest, multi-talented. My guest writes books. She's an artist. She's a yoga instructor. She is a retired RN, and I want to welcome Dory Richardson to Chatting with Betsy.
Thank you, Betsy. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Dory.
It's a nice day today, and I'm ready to talk about my ebooks. And the first thing I wanted to say before I forget was that there's a free one today. I put out a free yoga ebook because I do yoga all the time. So it's called Slow Motion Yoga, and it's on Amazon. So you can find it on my author page or, on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you'll see it. It's already there. You can just click on it and get a free ebook. And I already did my yoga this morning. You can find my yoga video. I do the Facebook Live video. I try to do it every morning, but it doesn't always happen. So that's where I am right now, writing stories and doing yoga and writing on my blog and website. So, yeah, that's what I do.
What is your website? What is your website, Dory?
It's called Body Mind Health, www.body-mindhealth.com. And it has a lot of things on my books, a lot of news on yoga, and you can see an hour's worth of yoga on there for instruction if you want to learn how to do poses and, how to breathe. So I do a lot of meditation in my yoga practice. So, it's fun and it's good and it's stretchy and it keeps you feeling calm and centered, something I need a lot of.
Yeah, we all need that these days. We all need that. I think the biggest thing is there's so much change right now that making decisions and making changes and, changing your perspective, that's what I write about, and all in positive prose. So it's all about changes we make and what we need to do in order to feel fit in mind, body, and soul. That's my goal. So I continue down the road doing that. Now, do you have another page on Facebook called Living Life in Artistic Ways? Is that another page?
Yeah, that's like one of my groups. It's like an offshoot
it's your group.
of the page. Yeah, it's I only have a couple hundred people that contribute to that, and it's my most creative friends that I enlisted in there, and I think I just enlisted you. You're a very creative person.
Oh, well, thank you. So you don't have to be thank you. I don't see myself that way, so thank you. Now, do you have to be an artist to join that group?
No, I do. I am selective about who I allow in because I want them to be open-minded and not post things that aren't creative, Oh,
okay.
Because with the pandemic and the virus and all that, there's a lot of negativity around about, what it's all about, and it's hard to combat that with, positive and optimistic sayings and stories and things like that, and that's what I do. So,
Your new book caught my eye. I forgot where I saw you. It might have been one of the dementia groups that I belong to, but your book, 2020 Pause, The Land of Joy Can Enter into Positive Windows, caught my eye. I think it was the art on the book and just being positive, which we all need, especially now. I know why you want people to be positive, but what made you be inspired to write this book? And what would you like people to take away from it?
I think because of the pandemic, we need to make a lot of changes with our lives. We need to change our perspective and how baby steps even are, needed and are phased back into life again. And it's not going to be exactly the way it used to be. So we have to accept that, there's major changes that will come out of this, even after it's long gone and we're talking about the pandemic of 2020. It'll still be something that changed in our lives that made us different. And I started feeling those changes myself, being more open to put myself out there. Like I'm doing live video. For a long time I would do like video that, like I could not show if I didn't like the way it looked. But now I'm doing live video with my yoga, which is kind of like putting myself out there. I did have one mishap where my phone got overheated and it shut off by itself while I was still talking and, doing the poses. But so I feel like I've opened myself out there more for people to make their life more doable in the same way it's making my life more doable. Like I found things to do that I haven't done in a long time that, puts me out in the public, and I was more, behind my pen writing things. Now I'm out there too, doing yoga. And I think that yoga is probably where I started in the 2020 pause. But if you do get a copy of the book or read or get the ebook version, it's 20-20 to me, which means 2020 is hindsight. We always talk about, if this happened, if that happened, things would be different, but we're going to look back on that. So that's what my goal was, to just bring some eye-opening points of view to people on how you have to change. And change is difficult. And making even the little decisions in life, like whether or not you're going to go sit in a restaurant yet, or whether or not you're going to walk outside without a mask or always have a mask on. I mean, there's a lot of choices that people make, and some people are more lax and some people are more, if you want to call the word paranoid, because I was a psychiatric nurse, so I feel a little bit paranoid myself on, what I need to do to keep myself safe. So that's what the book's about. It's like
I'm glad you mentioned. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned about being paranoid, because I was getting that way when I went to the store. I was thinking, does that person have the virus? Does that one have the virus? Yeah.
Yeah. Many of us are still using apps. Like I use the Walmart app to buy groceries still. I haven't given it up yet. So I'm really a tiny person, so I've had a couple people like bump into me in supermarkets, and it kind of bothered me, people I don't know. I have a small circle of friends, that's what I call them, and family that I'm with all the time. But I don't really want to be around people I don't know, because they might not be wearing a mask. When I go in a store and I see somebody had come in without one, it kind of bothers me, because I think we should all wear them in stores, so. But everybody's got their own perspective, and that's what the book's about. I ask questions like, what's your perspective on this? How are you dealing with that? Different incidents that happen to you. How do you feel if somebody coughs near you? How do you, things like that. It's like being a nurse, I'm aware of distance you have to be in order to not be in front of somebody sneeze or cough, I've already was aware of that from, classes in infection control and things like that. So, right, so you have to have a certain amount of paranoia, I guess.
Yes, to a certain degree. I'm also finding myself, and I know I'm not the only one, more cognizant of, when I go to touch a door to open it, then out comes my antibacterial gel to put on my hands.
Oh, right, yeah.
More conscious of, like, just, yesterday I was in the store and going on the escalator and touching the handrail. I'm getting very paranoid. So, I'm always putting the hand gel on myself and my son when he's with me, because of touching things that people have touched that you don't know. Here in New Jersey, where I live, it's mandatory to wear a mask. So there isn't a choice.
Too. Yeah. It is here too, but they don't always get caught, I guess, I mean, I guess there's people that walk through, and don't get caught not wearing it, or, in stores and stuff. You'll see a few, but I guess it's all about, yourself and how well you protect yourself or feel you're protecting yourself. My other book, I have 2 books that are newer. My other book, 7 Ways to Empower Women, talks about that.
Yes,
too.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That book talks more about your self-esteem and staying self-empowered, and it really connects to what's going on now. Because how do you stay self-empowered? How do you stay okay in times like this? So each chapter in that book talks about becoming a more positive story. So when people see you, they say, "Oh, here comes Dory. She's really positive. I want to hang out with her." You know what I mean? It's like, or do you have some friends that are more the doom and gloom people? So where do you find yourself on becoming an empowered woman? So I also suggest that men read it too, because it's also related to how men treat women too, is empowered or disempowered. So it's a really good read for both, men and women. And all my books are really short, so they're easy read. So for people who don't like to read, they're pretty easy read.
And they're available Amazon. Is there anywhere else where they're available, Dory?
Well, 7 Ways to Empower Women was originally published on Balboa Press. So you can get it there, too. If you like Balboa or Hay House, you'll find 7 Ways to Empower Women on that. And my pen name on my last 2 books is Dory Ann Louise. So I have a couple different names I go under. But if you go on Amazon, you'll see, my different books, because I have books on health and wellness, on aging. But my last 2 books were, more about being self-aware and making decisions and, taking time for yourself. And they all have a spiritual tone too. So take time for spiritual things in your life and calmness in your life. And that's where the yoga comes in too. So I talk a lot about yoga and meditation in my books too.
That's great, especially for caregivers, because I am in a lot of caregiver groups and run my own. And that's very important, I know, as a caregiver, to feel empowered, to relax, to do yoga, to do meditation, to help yourself, to do self-care. And that's very important. And I urge any listeners out there, if you're a caregiver, and you don't have to be a caregiver, but if you're a caregiver and you're stressed, and I know you are because I was, get one of these books. Go on Dory's Facebook page and where she does the yoga. And, it will help you. I have seen your yoga. I haven't done it yet, but I did see your video. That's very good. I'd like to know, Dory, how do you tell a woman to empower herself? What's one way that a woman can empower herself?
I think that, it comes with self-esteem and doing things like what I was saying about myself, putting yourself out there. I put myself out into doing live video, which I thought I would never do. And it was my sister Carol, all the way from San Diego, California, who encouraged me to do it live, because I was having problems with the videos, like they weren't coming out right. And she goes, "How come you just don't do live Facebook, and try that, do a video that way?" And so I put myself out there, and the first time I did it, you're live, you make mistakes, people are going to see it, They're like, you fall over. Like I've fallen out of a pose, not lately, but, if you fall on your face, it's like people are going to see that, So I guess you have to go there. And I used to go there in my mind and my spirit when I used to do public speaking. I had a job where I had to go out there and do public speaking, and that makes you probably more confident than anything else I've ever done. You're speaking in front of a live audience. I think my biggest audience was like 200 people. So in a lot of ways, this new way of doing things, like on the phone or on Zoom or whatever people are doing, is a lot easier than it was live. where you're shaking before you get on the stage and you're like, I can't do this kind of thing. So that's the best example I can give.
Oh, well, you know what, Dory, I definitely relate. It's, we let fear paralyze us, don't we? And it's, recognizing the fear, but going ahead and doing it anyway. And I could definitely relate to that because I was not one, to put the spotlight on myself. But I went into my car and I did, videos. And, you make mistakes. So it's like, you know what? So what? Who cares? That's how I think of it. Okay.
The older you get, the less you care. I definitely feel that the older I get, the less I care about what people think about my mistakes. Yeah.
Yes. And that comes with age. Yes, that comes with age and wisdom. And, doing radio or speaking on the radio, that's something I never would have done 10 years ago. Never.
Right. I would have said, oh, no. I'm not doing that. No. I'm going to give the caregiving example, too. When you care for someone, like I'm a nurse, so I'm kind of a natural at caregiving, but when you care for someone that's really sick, and you have to, like, help them onto the toilet or something, or prevent them from falling in the tub, or, those things, those beforehand things that when you first start to help somebody that's, getting weaker or has problems with their gait, the way they walk, is a really eye-opener to, okay, what if, I need more help? What if, so it gives you all those questions of, what if I have to call 911 because I can't handle this person, or, and if it's your spouse, it makes it even more difficult. So you have to enlist other people to help you, even if it's just verbally over the phone, like I'm having a hard day because I'm taking care of, Joe or whoever it is, And it's like you have to enlist other people. So the biggest thing with my second book, the one that's a little older, the 7 Ways to Empower Women, is that you have to enlist those people. Women have to empower other women in order to grow stronger, too. That's the theme of the book. You have to really want to help other people in order to help yourself.
Oh, I love that. And so true.
Yeah, it really is. And not everybody can do things alone. They really need help. Most of us need help. We can't stand strong without other people around us who help us move along, in a positive way.
That's true.
Yeah.
So. It took me until the age of 60 to start to have a positive attitude and to think in a better way, which absolutely helps me. And you're absolutely right. I think strong women help build other women up because you want to see other women be successful. And when you're confident in yourself, you're not threatened by another woman being successful. You're happy for them.
Right.
And
I agree.
a lot of women, sometimes they'll be, and you see it, like I've seen it in the workplace, you probably saw it in the workplace, someone new comes into the job and nobody wants to tell that poor person what to do or anything because they don't want that person to be successful. And, it's not right. And I loved when you said about, like you're positive. People want to be around others who have positive energy, who have a light to them. Nobody wants to be around someone that's all gloom and doom and negative Nelly, I call them. What are you drawn to? You're going to draw to people what you put out. I know that sounds very 60s, but it's true. It's very true.
It's very true. It has to come from within. Just like happiness. I talk a lot about happiness and joy, and happiness is internal. Somebody else can't make you happy. Your happiness has to come from an internal spark of light inside of you that you bring to others, and others see it right away. And so you have to work on yourself, You know, they always say, like, you know, in a plane, give yourself some oxygen first before you give it to your kid. You know, it's like you're on a plane and you're like, you're in trouble. You have to be strong for yourself so you can help your children or help somebody else. You can't help other people if you're deprived, you know. So that's and deprived of happiness and joy. Yeah, you really need that, and you really need to work at that all the time. Because especially now, let's think about this pandemic. It's like, how do we, the question is, how do we make ourselves internally happy and joyful and actually, you know, feel joyful during this struggle that we're going through? Everybody's going through it, and it's in different ways, you know. And how do we keep that spark of light inside of us that we can bring to other people? I do it through my artwork. When I'm feeling like a little down or, you know, really don't feel like real positive, I pick up a paintbrush. You know, I pick up, you know, my foot and do a yoga pose. You know, these are my coping strategies to move on in life. You know, there are different ways that I move on, and after I do an hour of yoga or after I do paint a picture for an hour, I forget about all those, you know, negative thoughts that might have been going through my head. You know, it puts me to a different plane of thought, you know, a different place that I can center myself and feel balanced again. And we all need that. We all need those hobbies and those things that we create to help us along. And exercise is another example. Like, I ride a bike. I walk all the time. And those times while I'm out there, I'm in a different realm. I'm in, you know, a meditative walk, or I'm just seeing a few people. And like today I saw the minister up the street, you know, with his dog. And I'm like talking to him for a few moments. And I thought, what a nice day. You know, I may not see anybody else but him. But what a nice day. And so you have to cherish those small moments of seeing somebody that you haven't seen in a while, or just saying hello. And you know, in a small way, it's a small step towards you feeling better about yourself too. So that's where I go. You know, I go all these different places. Yeah. Some are absolutely, you know, physical places. Yeah. We even have up the street from me. We even have a labyrinth that you can walk around in circles, and they say there's like really good vibrations from walking just in a circle, and so I do that too. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yes, this is what I tell caregivers. You know, you need to find something to help you relax, even if it's deep breathing. I couldn't go anywhere, but I learned to do deep breathing and meditation, which helped me. And you're so right, Dory. I love that you mentioned, you know, self-work. It's up to the individual, whether you're a man or a woman, a teenager, a child, to find that it's up to you to make yourself happy. I didn't know this when I was younger. I didn't learn this until 60 years old, that it's up to me to make myself happy. I don't need a man to validate me. I don't need a man to make me feel that I'm worthy like I thought I did in my teens and 20s. But this is, right. You learn this, you know, through getting older and, you know, listening to people such as you, Dory, and reading, you know, books that, you know, that you have written and others. And it's very life-changing when you start to realize that it's up to you. You know, we're shocked when people commit suicide, especially famous people that are rich. And we're like, well, why do they do that? They have everything. Because, folks, they don't have that internal happiness, and you can't buy happiness.
No,
you can't.
That's so
it's
true.
just something you can't buy. And
right.
You know, people really need to start understanding this, and especially, I think, young girls growing up, and the self-image is, you know, to be what Hollywood thinks someone should look like. So I think
that's been through our. We're both around the same age, so I'm a little bit older than you, but self-image problems for young girls, you know, especially being super thin and things like that, have been around since Twiggy. And I don't know who's going to listen to this, but Twiggy was like a twig. That's why they called her that, you know. So it's like, so we even had that we had that in our life, and wanting to be thin was a thing to be, you know. So it's terrible for young girls because they're just developing in many ways, and they don't need to starve themselves in their teenage years when they're still growing, you know. So, and I even talk about some of those things in my book about self-image in some of my books, and I have a couple of books. Even if you really look through, you know, like my different sites, people can find books even on weight issues and things like that, and what to eat. And I've been vegetarian. That's one thing I didn't bring up. I've been vegetarian/vegan for a while because I couldn't handle vegan too much. But you know, I don't eat any meat. I haven't since 2008, I think. And you know, so that's not what I think people should do, but that's what's good for me. I think there's people out there that thrive better on a plant-based diet. And they're coming up. I have a couple books, short books, again, they're all short, on plant-based dieting and what to eat and how to make even some recipes on plant-based diets. So those are things to look at, because sometimes if you change your diet, you feel a lot better too. You know, so that's another, you know, branch of my wellness for strong bodies, healing foods, wellness and relationships. I have a couple relationship books. Not sure, you know, with people, you know, they're just lessons on different things that have happened to me. Learning something new and journaling yourself. That's another thing you could talk about. We could talk about for a long time, like writing things down. It doesn't matter whether you get anything published, you know, writing things down and, you know, about your feelings and thoughts, and, you know, keeping a journal is a really good idea. So those are all health and wellness components that I write about. Yeah, and that we should all write about, how we feel by ourselves and the emotions and, you know, the positive things and, you know, things that make us feel good. You know, and that's where yoga fits in too, because yoga puts you into a balance. You're standing on one foot, and then you're standing on the other foot, and you can feel the wave of imbalances in between as you switch speed. And so everything's about a balance in life too. There's going to be good times and there's going to be bad times and in between times. And if you wait long enough, it's going to be good again. And if you wait long enough again, something's going to happen. So it's like that's just the balance of life. You know, not everything's, you know, roses. You know, so
very true.
And yoga, and yoga makes you feel that way. It's like, you know, physically, the physical aspect of a yoga pose is, even if you never learn anything besides child's pose, which is like the first page of one of my, you know, my newer book, you go into child's pose and you relax, and you can meditate in a pose, which I did a yoga class quite a while ago where we only did 5 poses in an hour. So each pose we did, we meditated in, you know, for 5 minutes or 10 minutes for some of them that you could stay in longer. And so you find yourself opening yourself to a lot of possibilities of oneness with yourself, because you melt into that pose and you stay there. And a lot of people can't do it. Kids can do it, you know, a lot better than adults can, because they're used to, like, you know, being in, you know, a child's kind of pose where their head's down and, you know, they're just relaxing. They can do that. And so children have an easier time learning yoga, you know. So that's my
they're more flexible.
Yeah, they are. And
they're more flexible.
Yeah, you know,
I know I was.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. When you're young, if you practice yoga from your youth, you stay flexible. Like I'm 60. I'm going to be 66 in August, and a lot of people say, "Oh, you're so flexible." And I said, "Well, I've been practicing yoga since I think I was like 15. You know, I wasn't real young, but back then they didn't have. They just had this woman on TV that used to, and I can't remember her name, Lydia or something. I don't know. And my mother used to let me watch it, and we'd do the poses with her. So yeah, since I was a young teenager, I did it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know what? It was just starting yoga back in the 70s, maybe the 60s, but it wasn't very popular as it is now. Now you have all kinds of yoga, but
Yeah, because
but meditation definitely was back, then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's like people just do it. I think people use it as an exercise, which is unfortunate. Like a fast yoga. It's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be slow and meditative. Yoga in itself, it's supposed to be a form of meditation. It's you do a pose and you stay in it. So a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want to do yoga because it's like it's not fast enough exercise for me," But it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be slow and open up your inner strength and your inner balance, and because if you could do yoga, you'd be better at riding a bike and you wouldn't fall off that bike because you had that internal balance. So you could do both. You need passive and active exercise. The passive being yoga or Tai Chi, and the active being like riding a bike. You need both for a balance. So.
Right. I'm going to have to definitely watch your video on yoga and start doing that.
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to have to do that. I'm so glad I met you.
Yeah.
I'm glad I met you, Dory. And it's one of those, it's a pleasure talking to you. It's one of those, people come into our lives at certain times. I mean,
right.
It's funny because I don't know how long you were on my friend list, and then I just see your 20-20 pause book, and it just stood out to me. Like I can't explain it.
Yeah. It's weird.
And I just said, I have to call you.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because I said when I came up with the title, I struggled over different titles because I didn't want it to be negative, because of the, pandemic. So I said, hindsight is 20/20. I kept saying hindsight is 20/20 because somebody on Facebook said that, that, in the year 2020, it goes in together. So when I picked the 2020 pause, I put that hyphen in between because I wanted people to realize that it meant, hindsight. It's like in hindsight, when we look back on this, everything will be fine in the year 2021 or something, and we'll look back on this. So I want people to say, okay, I might not be as fine as I want to be right now, but when I look back on this in hindsight, I'll say, oh, look at what I learned. Look what lessons I learned from this, even if it's just a small lesson like that I learned, I should do one yoga pose a day, or I should try to find a way to calm myself down through the breath, because I don't understand what's going on, and I'm having a hard time with this whole deal, So, that's where I am. I'm trying to give people ideas that they can create for themselves that make them feel better about what's happening today, in this moment.
Well, thank you so much, Dory, for writing your book and doing what you're doing. Is there anything else you would like to tell the listeners? Can you tell again about how they could get in touch with you and where to buy your books?
Well, if you go on my Facebook page, you could try to friend me on my Facebook page, and then you'll get all the resources, all the links and things like that, or you can contact me that way. That's probably the easiest way. Or you can go to Amazon and type in Dory Ann Louise, and Ann with an E, books, and you'll find probably about half of them. And because I have two sites that I can't, it would take me too long to tell you where the other one is, So the starting place would be to, Facebook friend me, and then you can ask me questions on Facebook. So.
Oh,
okay?
Great!
You're and so remember, I give out free books
wonderful.
all the time too. So.
You are really amazing, and it was a pleasure having you on Chatting with Betsy. Folks, I would highly suggest. You're welcome. I highly suggest you check out Dory's books. Go on her website and do something for yourself, and it will help you. I love going on Dory's page and reading her information because it's helped me, and I'm not even a caregiver anymore. But this pandemic, I'm grateful for it in a way. Maybe I'm one of the few people. I'm not grateful that people got sick. Don't get me wrong. I needed to rest. I needed this time to rest and regroup after the passing of my husband. I really did need it. And yes, hindsight is 20/20. And Dory, caregivers go through that all the time. I should have, would have, I could have.
Right. Yeah.
You have to let it go, let it flow. Guilt is an energy drainer. You need to take care of yourself. And when you help other people, it energizes you and you feel better about yourself. And,
That's
people
exactly
might, right? And people might think, oh, you're Pollyanna's. Somebody called me a Pollyanna once. I was hysterical because I'm far from being a Pollyanna. I was the most negative person you could ever meet, but that changed 2 years ago when I went to a conference, and that conference changed my life, and my life has changed. But I want to thank you, Dory, and I'm going to keep up with your site and start doing that yoga for my own benefit.
Oh, good.
And
do the yoga. It's fun.
I'm going to start doing that. And I want to thank everyone for listening. If you missed any of this audio cast, Chatting with Betsy, it's free to subscribe. It's on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeart, Google, Apple Podcasts, CastBox, to name a few. If you have Amazon Alexa, you can program Alexa to do Chatting with Betsy. And that way you can listen to me in your car and you won't miss any of my shows. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you again, Dory, for coming on. Folks, in a world where you could be anything, be kind. We need kindness. We need you to shine your light and shine it bright, even though sometimes you may not feel like it. Shine bright anyway. And to be kind, wear your mask, wash your hands, and be safe. Until we chat again, this is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy and Passionate World Talk Radio. Be blessed, everybody. Bye-bye.